Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Missy Heydrich, and so happy now to be joined by our contingent from Baylor University. Head coach Nicki Collen in her third season at Baylor, and three student athletes. Senior guard Sarah Andrews, grad student forward Asia Blackwell, and graduate student forward Dre Edwards. This team picked preseason second in the Big 12 and just released, probably about an hour or so ago, a preseason Associated Press pick of number 19 in the first poll that is out. Coach, 2 years for you now in this league, 4 new teams, things look a little different. So will your team. What do you take away from last year that is sort of maybe building blocks or things that you know have to happen for your group to have success this season in Waco?
Yeah, I think when you look at last year, obviously we had injuries. Dre wasn't able to get eligible. I think the silver lining is that Dariana Littlepage-Buggs, unanimous freshman of the year in the league, Bella Fauntleroy, they played huge minutes for us. They were going to play one way or the other. But the volume of minutes that they played, the importance of the minutes that they played against big-time opponents in a big-time league, I think sets them up, sets our team up to have the depth and confidence to sustain potential injuries, which happen in our sport. And so hopefully our depth gets to come through this year, which we thought it would last year.
Now that you've got two of these key players that are here with you today, and Asia and Dre, and they're going to be able to get back out on the floor, hopefully for the entire year. You mentioned Dariana, the Big 12 freshman of the year ago. You've also got the preseason newcomer of the year coming from Kentucky, and Jada Walker. How are all of these new faces blending? What's it been like at practice? Where do you see some of the peaks and the valleys that this group is going to have to address?
Yeah, I think the advantage to our foreign trip this summer was getting an additional 10 days in the gym in July and really starting to put in those building blocks, work Asia back into action, really understand where we can move Dre around. And then the newcomers, just learning how we play, the system, the style. We always talk about everyone says they want to play fast, but it's hard to play fast, and you've got to learn to play fast. And there's a difference between playing with pace and playing out of control. So really understanding what that looks like. I think our roster sets up to have a lot of versatility. I think we can play small. We've obviously been really small on the perimeter the last 2 years. I think we realistically can be big on the perimeter. I think we can have a Golden State Draymond type lineup with Dre at the 5. I think we can go big with our playing a traditional center. And so we just have the ability to match up to opponents, regardless of who we're playing, but we also hopefully can play in a way that they have to match up to us.
Create a lot of mismatch. Well, I know these three young ladies do that. I would make a remind for our media that if you have a question, please raise your hand and we will get a microphone to you. My first question goes to Sarah. Sarah Andrews, unanimous preseason All Big 12 selection, and she was a first team All Big 12 selection a year ago. I feel like your game has blossomed in these last 2 seasons under coach, a new, different system, all of the above. Key scorer, you've been a playmaker for your team. So what did you focus on in the offseason? Where did Sarah Andrews say, hey, I've got to be better heading into this season?
Well, first off, thank you. I think in offseason I focused on getting healthy and getting my body ready for this year. But most of all, being a fourth-year senior, being that leader on the floor. I know Coach Nicki's system. I know what she wants. So basically being a leader for this team.
And that leadership comes in different ways, and it can be by example, but sometimes you have to be a vocal leader, and that might be on the floor, in the locker room. What piece of that do you embrace? Do you feel like you're more by example? Are you finding your voice? Where does that leadership line go for you?
I think it depends on the situation. I think I've become more of a vocal leader. A lot of I want to do it with actions, but I think when they hear my voice, they know that everything's okay, and I had to learn that and become more open and accepting the challenge of being more vocal, so I would say in the vocal area.
Well, and maybe when the voice and they know that they're not in the right spot, then that means they're supposed to get where they're supposed to go. Asia Blackwell, you missed all but 8 games last season, an all-SEC performer at Missouri before you got to Waco. So you never really got a taste of the Big 12. So what are you, first off, how are you doing physically, and what are you looking forward to the most headed into this year?
I'm doing better. I'm healthier. This year I'm just looking forward to just getting out there with my teammates and just hooping, playing basketball, and winning a lot of games, honestly. I think we're all on the same page regarding chasing championships, and so that's my main goal this season.
And for those that didn't have a chance to see you before in your career at your former school, what about Asia Blackwell's game will people see when you hit the floor this season?
I think people are going to see a lot of toughness. I'm a little spicy. I said that before, but a lot of toughness. I mean, I'm a tough player. I just uplift my teammates, and I just have a lot of energy on the floor. So.
Awesome. Dre Edwards sat out last season, transferred to Baylor from Kentucky. Even though everybody thinks it's easy, that is not at all a simple process sometimes. So for you, I'm going to ask you the same question. What are people going to see when Dre Edwards gets on the floor and into the Big 12 this year?
Yeah. Honestly, I think I'm just a dog. I go against anybody. I'm not scared of competition or like bigger names or things like that. So I just know like I can be a dog and my teammates will have my back and I'll have their back. So that's what you can look forward to.
And how has it been? I know you probably practiced a lot. All of you had those moments, but now that you're thinking about practicing and actually getting in a game, it has to be a good feeling for you, and maybe even just make practice a little bit easier?
Easier? I don't know about easier. It's definitely a great feeling just to know that I'm going to be able to get on the floor and help out my team in different ways rather than just being in practice. So I'm super excited.
Awesome. I know we have a question right here in the front.
Good afternoon, Coach Collen. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Cindy Brunson, NBC Sports Pac-12 Network. Also play-by-play for the Phoenix Mercury. You mentioned that you want to erect a statue of Brittany Griner outside of your new facility. Where are the plans, and when do you expect that to happen?
Yeah, I in some ways probably jumped the gun in those situations. I think what we want to do is honor her, bring her back to campus, make her truly feel welcome at Baylor University and in the athletic department. The uniqueness of Baylor is there has been no formal retirement of a jersey setup. We have honored jerseys, but when you think about even the RG3s and some of the great track athletes we've had, like Michael Johnson, we have tracks named after them, we have statues, but they don't formally have jerseys retired. So working on that formal process to be able to do that for her in due time. But in the meantime, we want to make sure she feels welcome back and do some kind of a celebration this year for her and try to make more formal plans going forward. But we're excited to get BG back to Baylor for sure.
Coach, I know in your first 2 years, you've talked a lot about how difficult this league is, and now you've added 4 new teams. It's going to look different over the course of the next few years as well. But as you kind of evaluate the Big 12, where do you see it, and what in the preparation of that did you want to address for your non-con with your team and put them into position for success?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've always said about this league that makes it unique is we have a lot of diversity in styles. We have teams that stretch you out and shoot the three. We have physical, defensive-minded teams that are super athletic, and we have a little bit of everything in between. And so I think you get some of that with each of the teams that we've added. You just don't see necessarily, hey, everybody's a power style or everybody's, a finesse-type skill team. And so I think the new teams continue to bring that. I think the Big 12 name will lift those teams up in recruiting, and I think they'll continue to get better. I think as the league changes and the Pac-12 teams come to our league and we lose OU and Texas, we're bringing in seasoned teams that have been in the NCAA tournament. And even when you talk about an Arizona State, their long-term success, they're just getting their feet under them with Charlie Turner-Thorne retiring. So I think we're adding 4 new pieces with the Pac-12 teams that are going to make us strong as well. So just really excited. I think it's going to be a unique year for all of us when you go from a true champion and everybody playing everybody home and home to these unbalanced schedules, and who you play, when you play them, where you play them, how many times you play them is really going to impact seeding in this Big 12 tournament, which is going to be really exciting here at T-Mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing you all back here in March as well, long before then, during the Big 12 season. So best of luck to all of you, and thank you for being here today. Next up, in just a few moments, will be Iowa State.